Well, hey, folks, welcome today. It's Thursday, May 6th, and we have a very special guest today. This is Mrs. Lauer.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Mr. Lauer.
Oh, yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, she had to come all the way. She had to travel very far to get here.
Yes.
So we were going to talk today about the state of the house and cleanliness in specific. Did you want to go first?
I wasn't sure if you had more context that you wanted to introduce or anything like that. Your call, babe.
No, you go first.
Okay.
So what's on your mind?
Well, you may have heard I am a mom. You may have also heard that we have 2 young children in our home, ages, that many, ages 5 and 7. You may also have heard a little bit about Mr. Lauer's and my professional background, which is somewhat shared because we both come from a teaching background where we work with older kids, secondary students. My background is middle school, and
we're educators.
We're educators for sure.
Yeah, teach high school.
Yeah.
So
I taught middle school.
What's been going on with the house, and
well, I'm giving context.
Do you feel about that?
I'm giving context so that I can explain my feelings.
Oh,
because
okay.
You said you wanted me to explain my feelings.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm giving them this necessary background. All this to say, like, we understand kids, but we understand older kids really, really well. Younger kids and how they communicate and what they are and aren't able to do and what realistic expectations of them might be are not necessarily like pre-built fortes that we have as educators. So I wanted to just start with that.
So we're learning as we go with the small children.
Yes, as parents.
Yeah.
It's a little different than being teachers. We can't give them back to anybody at 3 o'clock.
So what she's trying to get to is that we have the 2 kids, and as little kids are wont to do, they are little terror tornadoes, leaving messes in their wake wherever they go. So
yes,
tell us about that. What was happening in the last few days?
Enough about your background and your professionalism, Natalie. We want to hear about the problems.
Yeah.
So one thing that's happening, we have a 5-year-old who is not an eater. I'm not an eater either, so I get that. I can sympathize.
Yeah, a little coffee right there.
Thank you, honey. So nice of you to do that on camera in front of all these viewers.
It's just I'm giving color and context.
Yes, thank you. Like I was trying to do. Yeah. Anyway, he's super messy. Super messy. I mean, you can tell where this kid has been because there is usually a trail. I mean, this child is like a one kid Hansel and Gretel. Like there's a trail of crumbs, water drips, broken crayons, just like in his wake. These things just sort of cling to him and then fall off. And it's not that we don't ask our kids to clean up. We absolutely do ask our kids to clean up.
I think it's gone beyond asking at this point.
And what I don't like is when it has to extend beyond asking into like yelling and barking at them, like clean up your stuff. Like, come on. Because I think everyone is really comfortable with the idea that, well, if I don't get to this mess right now, someone else will, or I'll just be allowed to kind of let it grow. And our daughter is a little older. She's 7, but she has some similar challenges. She's a very neat eater. That's not the issue.
But if stink lines were visible.
Yeah, I think she's just not very good at picking up after herself. That's really the issue with her, is that she loves to play, and I support play 100%. If you want to play with toys, I'm right there. Play with the toys.
But please, clean up after yourself.
But clean them up when you're done. And we've had this conversation dozens of times. Don't get out another toy until you put away the one that you're done playing with, things like that. And they just don't always happen that way. And with everyone being at home most of the time, it started to sort of come to a head. And I don't have that big of a problem with like their bedroom being messy, but the common areas of the house.
Yeah, because that's their space.
Yeah, their space. Like I want to get in there and vacuum.
Yeah.
You know, I want them to be able to walk unimpeded to and from their beds and their dresser.
And not have vermin nesting in their bedroom. But aside from that, I kind of don't care. Yeah.
But the common areas of the house, the living room, the kitchen, the dining room, the areas that we all use and see and walk through, dozens of times per day. I can't deal with clothes, dirty or clean, toys, books, art supplies, crumbs, food trash. I mean, we could take up your whole stream with a list of the things that I find on my floor, on our dining room table, and on our counters in our kitchen. And so last night, I just was over it. So we now have a new rule where we're just not going to leave anything on the floor.
And it's really easy. If there's any parents watching, I mean, you already know this, but it's so easy to give in to frustration, especially when you work all day and then you do chores around the house, laundry, dishes, sweeping up. Or if you're like me and you're a DIY wannabe.
You're more than that.
Slightly more than a DIY wannabe.
You're a DIY poser.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I won't take that as an insult.
It's not. It's a step up.
Yeah, you know that you put in work to get your house going, and then these little 5 and 7 year old terrorists come around and just mess everything up. And it's so, and you're like, bruh, what are you contributing to this household that allows you to go around and make a mess of my place? And it's so easy to give into frustration and, yell and scream at them, or nobody in particular.
The neighborhood
that, because it makes you feel frustrated, and it's important as parents, I feel, to address feelings like that. Parenting is extremely frustrating, teaching is frustrating enough as is, and that's like mini parenting. You have to deal with the kids for a certain amount of time, but then you get to give them back at the end of the day, which is nice. With, being an actual parent, they're yours and you're responsible for them. And if anything goes wrong, you've got to answer to that. You're responsible and accountable for these little children. And on top of that, you've got to teach them that responsibility and accountability over time. That's the whole point of raising children, is so that they can be the next generation and they can be functioning adults and start their own families and continue this, crazy experiment we call life. And it's supremely frustrating to have to go through all of that, where you feel like you're the one doing all of the work. And then on top of that, you have to teach these kids who you're already cleaning up after and fixing their mistakes and repairing or replacing the things that they break. You're supposed to, give them a break, forgive them, and then teach them over time how to be better people.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
No. Well, and I want to address too, like, one thing that was said in our home last night that really brought this to a head was someone had left school glue to dry, like Elmer's type glue to dry on the dining room table. Now, for context, the dining room table that we have is new to us. It was given to us by our neighbors who are moving. So they just gave it to us. They were like, we don't want to move this. If you want it, you can have it. So we were like, yes, we need a larger dining room table for our family. We like to entertain. So we took this table, and it is a nice table. It was free to us, but it is a nice table, and I'd really like to keep it that way. And it's not, it's different from our older table in the sense that I feel like it's not indestructible. I want it to be kept nice and not get scratched up and dinged up and things, free or not. So someone had left glue. And so I went and I scraped off the dried glue because I didn't find it until it was dried. And then I scrubbed everything. I cleaned the table with special wood table cleaner that I had bought to take good care of this table and keep it looking nice. And I said to the kids, you guys, you cannot leave art stuff on this table to dry and crust on. It's going to ruin the table.
And what was the response to that?
The response was, well, that's okay because the table was free.
I didn't say that.
No.
I'm not the one who said that.
And I was just, it sent me into a little bit of a mini tizzy there in that moment. I tried to control myself because I didn't want to like yell and scream at them. They're young. They don't understand. We need to teach them. But the level of entitlement was just like so astounding to me.
Yeah.
And the lack of appreciation for nice things, like free or not, that doesn't mean you don't take care of it. And I clapped back with, well, the cat, one of our cats was astray. The cat was free and we take care of him, right? Like we don't just say, well, you were free. So, you know, who cares if you starve and die?
I mean, they weren't free. There's hospital bills and stuff. They did cost money.
Well, the cat, honey.
Yeah, the kids. The cat's a stand-in for the kids.
I
understand.
Yeah, so the stray cat that we have. Yes. So that was what really sent me over the edge. And I was like, we have got to teach our kids how to take care of things, regardless of what they think the monetary value of it might be. And we're also trying to teach them about money. And I think that's where this whole thing was like, oh, well, it was free, so it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like,
it's free, so it's worthless.
Stuff.
No, that's not
like,
how
that's not
this
it.
actually works.
But I also want to talk for a second, because you invited me on here.
Wait, just for a second?
I want to talk to explicit audience members for a second here. I actually want to talk to the moms out there, because as wonderful and understanding as Mr. Lauer is, and he really is, like he gets it. I think the moms need to hear from another mom. Like, we feel the pressure, right? When our kids are not, oh wow, I'm center stage now. Cool. When our kids are not like up to snuff, however you want to define that, right? They're acting up at school, they're leaving messes in their wake, they're misbehaving, the house is dirty, whatever. I'm just going to call it out. People don't like go and look at the dad and be like, why isn't the dad doing something about this? They look at the mom, right? That's always the first stop, is like, how can that mom let this happen? Like, who does the teacher call when the kids act up? They call the mother, right? Who does anybody ask about, like, oh, hey, who's going to take care of this mess? Well, ask your mother. So, especially with Mother's Day just around the corner, like, I just want to acknowledge, like, as the moms, we're the ones who are shouldering a lot of this. And I think we have to give ourselves a lot of grace when we're dealing with things like this, especially during COVID, especially as we're all trying, well, not all of us, I should not make assumptions, but a lot of us are trying to work from home. A lot of us are trying to make sure that, you know, everyone has what they need for school every day. Everyone has what they need to eat. And that's a lot. That is a lot on the mom, or, you know, single dads or whoever, but the parent, the caretaking parent, to ensure that everyone has what they need. And then at the end of the day, when you're done coordinating all the schedules, fixing all the meals, washing all the laundry, going around the house and probably picking stuff up that has been left around, and doing your own actual job, it's like the end of the day, it's like you're just done. Like, it's so much. And anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that the moms feel that.
Well said.
Thank you. That was a little rambly.
That's okay. That's okay. We're rambling.
I could tell a story.
You didn't just tell a story?
No, that was
was
reaching out. That wasn't even an anecdote. Okay. That was just that.
I'm not an English teacher, so I don't know.
No, I could tell a story. In fact, I'm going to tell a story because I was thinking about this morning, but I'll try and keep it quick. When I was you
got 15 minutes until I have to start teaching. So
nice. Well, speaking of teaching, it is a teaching story. So I used to teach 7th and 8th grade English language arts. And I had this student, Luis G. And Luis struggled a little bit. Luis was having a hard time. And he would come into my class a lot without the things that he needed for school. Mm-hmm. And one day he didn't have a pencil. And I knew I had given him supplies the day before. And I was like, Luis, what is going on? Why don't you have your pencil? Like, what's the deal? And he freaked out a little bit. He had a little bit of a mini meltdown. And he was like, I know what you're really saying. What you're really saying is that my mother doesn't care about me because I don't have school supplies. And I was like, whoa.
There's a lot to unpack there.
That was a lot. And I told him, you know what? Can you stick around after? Because I just want to talk to you about this a little bit after class. You're not in trouble. I just want to check in with you. And, he was kind of sullen about it, but he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And my eyes are getting a little red because I think about this story a lot. And after class that day, I sat down with Luis G, and I was like, so what's really going on? Because, I know you need stuff, and I'm not trying to make assumptions about anything here, but, what do you need? And he said, well, Miss So-and-so, who shall remain unnamed, told me that if my mother cared about me, she would make sure I had the supplies I needed for school. I don't think that's what Miss So-and-so actually said at all. But I think that's what this kid heard. And to me, it said a lot about what it means to be a parent and make sure that your kids have what you need and that they feel that too. So at the time, we didn't have kids yet. I wasn't pregnant yet or anything. And I just looked at him and I said, you know what, Luis, I am here to teach you. I am not here to judge you or your mother or to make any assumptions about, your mom's ability to take care of you. I said, I know that being a parent is the hardest job in the world. And that's part of why I'm not one yet, because I know how important that is. And I would never, ever say anything about your mom and her ability to take care of you. So let's just, do what we need to do to get you up to speed in class. And from then on, he came into my class with a totally different attitude. I think he knew that that I understood that, him not having the things that he needed for school was not a reflection on him or his family. It just was. And so I just made sure he had what he needed. I mean, he still had to be responsible for it. Like if he came in the next day without the stuff I gave him a little bit of a hard time. Like, okay, I just gave this to you. Like, what'd you do with it?
Yeah.
But he did a lot better. And I ended up running into him a couple of years later in the town where we teach. And he was on his way to the continuation school. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, so you're doing the continuation school. What's going on there? And he said, well, I wanted to do it so that I could graduate early because I want to join the Navy. He wanted to join the Navy so that he could get the scholarship money for school. Mm-hmm. And be able to support his girlfriend. He had a girlfriend and he really cared about her and he wanted to be able to give her the things that she needed. So he wanted to finish up early so he could get right on that.
Yeah.
And I just told him, you know what, Luis, I am so proud of you. So Luis G, you know who you are if you're watching. I want you to know that Miss Lauer is still really, really proud of you. And anyway, that was my story about how being a parent,
being a mom, not a parent, single dads too.
Yeah. Mom or single dad.
Especially moms.
The caretaking parent, being the primary caretaking parent.
The acting mother.
Is tremendous amount of pressure. And that was why I want to tell that story.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. So back to our kids and our household. Let's bring it back.
Yes, bring it back.
When raising our kids, we kind of had to sit down after the kids went to bed and sort of hash out some of these feelings last night. And one of the things that we kind of had to remind, we already knew this, but we had to remind ourselves of is in our own lives, we've been together since 2005.
Yes.
So 16 years this year. Mm-hmm. We've never been super clean, tidy people.
No.
But I mean, that's just, we just haven't been that way, and both of us, we get comfortable with having, being surrounded by a lot of our things and books and papers and, stuff and
clutter.
Clutter. Yeah. We're cluttery people. And every room in the house is kind of a reflection of that personality. So, the garage has a bunch of my stuff in it. Mm-hmm. The bedroom has a bunch of your stuff in it. Mm-hmm. The common areas have a bunch of common stuff in it. Everybody's stuff. Every corner of this house has got things sort of stacked or shelved or piled in it. And that's kind of who we are. And not everyone's like that, but a lot of folks are. And so with our kids, we kind of had to realize that we're faced with two options here. So one, we can either realistically manage our expectations of what we're expecting of the kids, teach them the basics, teach them how to clean up after themselves, how to, keep their teeth brushed and their dishes clean, and, eventually teach them how to do the laundry. My son's learning how to do the dishwasher. He's actually quite good at it when, you remind him to do it.
Sometimes he does it too soon.
Sometimes he ran the dishwasher and was like not even halfway full the other day.
Quarter full.
He was doing well.
He was trying.
He meant well.
I was proud of him because he tried.
But, teaching them the basics so that they can be functional, and, if they end up, cluttery and messy like their parents are, then, well, hey, at least they can take care of themselves, and it's not the end of the world. They're not going to end up as, like hoarders on some, TLC show or something like that. Is that Hoarders on TLC or AMC or History Channel?
I don't know, because none of those channels show the shows that I expect them to show anymore.
Yeah.
I think it was TLC.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds like a TLC thing.
I hope it wasn't A&E.
I don't know. But anyway, getting them functional, but managing expectations, like, all right, you kids are going to be making messes, teach them to clean up after themselves, and, just realize that we live in a cluttery house. Or the second option is to better ourselves, and be the change that we want to see reflected in our kids. Because if we're going around, telling our kids, yelling and screaming at our kids, like, why aren't you cleaning up after ourselves? And we're not cleaning up after ourselves, and putting things away when we're done, and leaving stuff out all over the place. I'm not talking about like trash all over the place. Like,
but just
we don't do that.
Things that we were using a minute ago, and we just like sort of
set it down and pile up. Like, I got a big stack of mail right here. If we don't want to see that from our kids, then instead of telling them what to do and getting mad at them when they don't do it, when they're looking at us like, well, you all right there, Kat?
Did he just like not make it?
Yeah, he didn't make it. Yeah. Yeah.
He's coming back for another try.
Hey, buddy. Instead of getting mad at them and yelling at them, which is sort of an effort and futility, because right now they're young and they don't quite put two and two together, but eventually they're going to get to the age where they're going to be able to vocalize, well, Mom, Dad, you guys don't put your stuff away. Why are you getting mad at us for it? And then it just becomes this cycle where, we're getting increasingly mad and frustrated, and they stop taking us seriously because they see like, oh, well, it's good enough for you, Dad. Good enough for you, Mom. Why not me? So if we want to see better from our kids, then we have to model better from ourselves. And that's a tough reality to swallow. That's really tough to come to terms with when you're a parent, and especially a mom, and that you already do so much for your kids and around the house and for yourself and for your career and, everything else under the sun that you're responsible for, to all of a sudden have to come to terms with the fact that, yeah, if I want better, I'm going to have to do better. Like, aren't I doing enough?
Right.
Well, I mean, that depends. That depends on what outcome you want. Fortunately, these fall under it, spring cleaning, like cleaning everything out once a year, that takes a lot of effort. And changing behavior takes a lot of effort initially. But if you make that effort, that initial effort to start changing behavior, picking up after yourself, little bit by little bit, cleaning up just a little bit more of a mess than you started making in the first place, and forming those habits after like a month or so of just consciously doing the same thing over and over, a month or 2 months or something.
It's either 30 days or 90 days.
Yeah, you start developing those habits, and then it doesn't feel like as much of an effort. It is a lot of effort to begin with, to keep that habit, or to keep that that trend going, but eventually it just becomes ingrained. It becomes a habit. You get used to it, and it doesn't feel like extra work.
Mhm.
And I think, at least for me anyway, when I'm ever confronted with the, oh man, I'm going to have to do this extra thing, I'm going to have to do more now, that always, it seems so insurmountable. And then if I just, for me, I write it down on a list. I keep doing it day after day after day. And then it just becomes something like, all right, well, I'm done with my class. I got to go put away dishes.
Right.
It's a certain time in the afternoon. I got to go out and shoot some video, make a video. It's in 8:45 in the morning, 8:50 in the morning. I got to do a little live stream thing. Yep. And then it just becomes habit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like extra work. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Can I tell the good people where we landed then?
Yeah. And then we're going to wrap this up.
So
you get the final.
As with most things, the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? Mr. Lauer just presented his two options. Like, one, we can just manage our expectations, or two, we can make some changes and do that sort of like leading from the front thing that we know is best practice. And I said, well, I think where we need to be is somewhere in the middle. I think we need to support our children with understanding what it means to clean up and set some clear parameters, right? Which is, we're just not leaving anything on the floor anymore. Books, toys, whatever, it's not going to be on the floor. It's not going to be on the dining room table, and it's not going to be on the kitchen counters. I don't care if it goes on a shelf and looks cluttered. It just needs to be off of those places, right? So that was part one. And then part two was, we were going to do a better job of modeling that behavior for our kids as well. So it's somewhere in the middle, and we're going to work on it together as a family. Because I'll tell you what, if I'm getting a little bit of assistance with picking up the stuff, like they're picking up their things, I'm going to be a lot better equipped to go around and pick up our things, or, the family's things, or, the cat toys, or whatever it is. Because I feel like right now I just end up picking up everything if I want it picked up. And that's when I start to get resentful. So we're going to go ahead and try that. And we will report back and let you know how it's going.
Yeah. When are we going to report back?
I think we should set a timeline to keep us honest. Well, what are you comfortable with, Mr. Lauer? Your stream?
2 weeks maybe.
We will come back in 2 weeks and let you know how things are going.
If we remember.
Well, you're going to write it down on one of your lists, right?
Okay. 2 weeks. Weeks.
Today, May 6th. So that's going to be May 20th, 21st.
About cleaning.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today is May 20th. So we'll touch base May 20th and let you know how things.
2 weeks.
Give you the progress report.
Come on, focus. Come on, focus, camera. Focus. Oh, it's because of your beautiful face.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's like, it still is. There we go. 2 weeks checking about cleaning. There we go. All right, we made it happen.
Yay!
Okay, guys, we got to wrap this up because it's like 9:12 and I need to start my class in less than 3 minutes. So thank you very much for joining me, and go team.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Have a good rest of your Thursday.
Oh.
What?
knitandnote.net.
Oh, yeah. Do your shout out really quick.
So I am writing a knitting blog, mostly knitting. There's some other things too. If you want to check it out and see what we're up to around our house and what our garden is starting to look like, you can check me out, www.knit&note.net.
Yeah, and links in the description already. So
thanks, honey.
Check it out. Drop a comment, all that good stuff. Buy a pattern. All right. Okay, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.